folks, welcome back to History on the Move. This is Trevor.
This is James.
And we're here on location at the B&O Railroad Museum. We're not really at the museum, we're actually just outside, further west from the museum itself. So we're going to take you on a fun little journey today of looking at something that most people probably see when they take the train ride, but they don't know what it is. But you're going to find out what it is today. Stay tuned. All right, folks, so we are, as we said, we're going to take you on a fun little journey today. Something that, again, you pass by all the time if you take the Mile 1 Express out to the West End. So let's go for a little walk here, and we'll give you some orientation as to where we are.
So right here, this is, behind us, there's the restoration shop. You can see that. You can see this, the remains of what used to be the tender kitchen at the B&O at Mount Clare. And
here's the mounted police unit is here in this. So you, again, on the train ride, you pass all this stuff.
Yes.
So this is looking north. Behind me is south. This is west over here. This is east. Yes. And originally, when this was still a yard, there would have been many, many tracks here, probably 10, 8, I'm not sure exactly. Yeah. We have a map, so we definitely want to put this in front of you guys so you can orientate yourselves. So as the map lies, we are right about here. So we're in between Bush Street and Bayard Street. Right here, and you can see there would have been, I'm not going to count those, but a number of tracks, right? Yeah, I'd probably say 5, 6, 7, something like that. This is an older map, so a lot of this infrastructure was taken out by the time that the big tender kitchen behind us was built. So, but what we're interested in today is this little industrial spur right here for the H.G. Davis coal yard. And you can see it comes off right about where we are. And the first thing that we're going to see as we walk over here is this scale plates. Yes, there's a number of these going along here, and some of them over time they got bulldozed, they got moved. Yeah, this one's still pretty much where it would have been coming off of that track. So this is where they would have brought the cars over. They would have weighed the cars, brought them out here. And as we're walking over this way, you can see there's kind of various stuff. This has been abandoned for a pretty long time. We don't know how long exactly, but I would guess most of the Mount Clare shop complex was torn down in 1974. You can see there's these kind of concrete. Check these out. I don't really know what this is. Here. Just a structure that kind of, again, this is that good old urban exploring, as they call it, right? We don't really know what we're looking at, but it does look pretty neat. So again, that spur would come off, and again, these scales, fairly certain that these are not exactly in the spot they would have been. They may have shifted again when they came in here and did a lot of the bulldozing. So you can see these clips here. That's the track gauge right there. Yep. Pretty sure. I don't think I need to measure that. No, it looks like 4 foot 8.5 to me. So you can see, obviously, over time, things got shifted around, things got moved, right? Here's another one of those scales over here. Another scale plate right here. But here's what we can see as we come off of this spur, coming over this way, there's this concrete wall, and this is where the coal cars would have gone off into the coal yard. It would have been elevated because they were copper cars. They dumped the coal out of the bottom. So you can see this slot here and this slot there is where the rails would have gone across. Would have come out here, and you can see on the map here. Let's get a look, see. You can try and blow away from me. Hey! You can see on the map here, they would have come out along here. Yep. And then rejoin the track up here. Yeah, further east. Now it's important to note that now Carey Street goes through and there's a bridge here. Yeah, so this map, remember, is 1873, 1874, like somewhere in there. So that bridge wasn't there. Carey Street just dead-ended here. Yep. Then Worcester Street came out here. Yep. And this followed all the way through up into the main shop complex. I have also a later map
here.
1880.
This is 1880.
Okay, so let's orientate this.
By 1880, this bridge is in place. As you can see, it's marked there, bridge.
It is, yep.
Very small. But this bridge is in place, and you can see that the siding and the coal dump for the coal yard here is labeled, but that track just ends right here.
Yep. So you can see the hash marks essentially represent ties, if you will. So it looks like it just stopped roughly halfway into the coal dump itself.
Probably a trestle, actually.
Which could be the start of this guy here.
I'm pretty sure that is exactly what this is.
That's the beginning of this, and then again, as you look out here, you would have gone, I don't know if there, I assume there would have been another one of these, but we'll do some exploring and see what we can find.
It might just not be there because it's wood, it got demolished.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking 1870s, 1880s here.
You can see here, there's the remains of what would have been a gate, right?
Yep.
To let into the coal yard. And yeah, there's a lot of trees, and it's pretty overgrown now, so there's not a whole lot to go off of. But there is still some of the original architecture that's still left, such as this, and some more stuff which we can show you later on.
So we're going to take you down to see something that I think, and James thinks, is pretty neato. We'll see you in a second. Okay, so we've moved southeast of our last location, which was up on the hill of this. James found some pretty cool stuff. I'm gonna let him take over here and show you some pretty neat stuff that relates to the H.G. Davis coal dock.
Yep. So we can see right here, this is an old wooden retaining wall, and if you follow it along there, it goes right up and meets with where those scales were and where these where the switch was. You can see it kind of keeps on going this way, right? What held back the earth here.
Wow, look at that.
And kept the provided a nice open area, right, where the cars could be unloaded coming along here, right?
Yep.
And so the whole coal yard would have been about where this school is now, right?
Yes, Baltimore South something charter school.
Southwest, something like that, yeah. So this old retaining wall, this is still here.
What I think is neat though is look at some of these little detail aspects from the time period. Square head bolts. Look further down, there's a giant spike there at the end. You follow my finger all the way down. And again, so this would have been a retaining wall, right, to hold in the coal that would have been on this side.
Yeah. And there would have been, presumably to keep level with the kind of the switch and everything we saw over there, a trestle that would have come off of here.
Yes.
And would have allowed coal to be unloaded underneath it into, you know, wagons, carts.
And this may have been a piece of it.
What I think this is here is a piece of that trestle support that's probably been cut off.
Yeah.
So not a whole lot
left here, but we got some other interesting spots that we're gonna head to next, so hang out for a minute. So I've moved a little bit more in the southeast direction here. James is off exploring here. I ran across this and I really want to point this out. I think this is just epic because, again, in the world of urban exploring, this is the kind of stuff you come across. As you can see, there's that retaining wall that kind of just flows through this way. Again, the coal dock would have been on the other side. But look how it's kind of stepped. I thought this was kind of neat. So again, these weren't ties. This was yet another form of the retaining wall and or probably the trestle that held up those cars. Pretty neat. All right, folks, I'm moving southeast here. And guess what James found?
Got a piece of coal. Look at that.
Proof that there was H.G. Davis's coal yard here.
Not of mine.
Not of mine.
He did have a good number of those.
He had a good number of those in West Virginia, but there's our proof.
Now, H.G. Davis was one of the biggest owners of mines and coal yards and that sort of thing at the time. He has a city named after him in West Virginia.
That he does.
He has a city named after him. He has a college named after him. But he started out right here on the B&O Railroad.
I was gonna say, so he actually has a pretty neat connection to the railroad here. And so we'll tell you the story. His father, Caleb,
Yeah.
in 1828, brought him just, what, say half a mile?
That's right.
North of, or sorry, west of where we are, to the laying of the first stone. And at 5 years old, it's pretty neat. Actually, you can hear the train, the Mile 1 Express behind us here, going behind. But little did H.G. Davis know back when he was 5 years old that he was witnessing history. He watched Charles Carroll, the last living signer of the Declaration of Independence, put the shovel in the ground and turn over the first plot of earth for the laying of the first stone. He watched the masons come in and level that piece of stone. I mean, 5 years old, your brain's not fully developed, you don't really know what you're seeing. But that would actually take him further, because when he was 19, if I'm correct,
He became a brakeman.
he signed on with the B&O as a brakeman, worked his way up to a passenger and freight conductor.
Yeah.
And he actually met Henry Clay, which is kind of neat. That's a name you should know. Henry Clay, we can get into him in another video. But he met on the route from Washington out to Cumberland. He met some pretty prolific people out there. And I think that's pretty neat to point out. He also worked his way up to his last
Management position.
He was in a management. He was a station agent at the Piedmont, West Virginia station, which is long since demolished. The B&O built a new one sometime in the late 1890s, early 1900s. But the fact that he was, again, kind of, I wouldn't say born into the B&O, but that was his first real memory. And then he begins to sell coal to them, you know, later on in his career, is just absolutely fascinating.
Yep.
All right, we've moved yet again. Behind us, James and I both laid eyes on something that was really neat. I think we found what seems to be the remnants of the coal trestle. So I'm gonna let James point this out to you.
You can see all these horizontals going across. There's a big beam there. Same square bolts, all of those spikes. Another one back there, another one back there, and further on you can see more of them. It's kind of hard to see. There's all these trees kind of growing through here, but yeah.
This would have been where the trestle was.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty neat. It's kind of it's fascinating walking through here and finding this stuff and going, you can begin to again to recreate this stuff in your mind. It's fascinating, all based off of a map that we found here at the museum shop. So pretty neat. Let's keep moving and find some more neat stuff.
Got another big chunk of coal right
Look
here.
at that. That's pretty neat. So again, further proof that there was a coal dock here.
Right here.
There was a massive coal yard. And again, point out to you can see the cross beams here where the trestle would have been.
Yep.
There's another one further down. And again, so the entire coal yard would have been in this area here. Let's keep moving. All right, so we have moved closer to the museum. James pointed out some pretty neat stuff. Let's take a look behind us at this retaining wall, because this will give us some more clues about the coal yard.
So what I would guess is this coal yard here, right? Sorry, the retaining wall. Is this kind of would have been the boundary. I imagine probably that trestle would have come out here, kind of where we're standing now.
Yeah.
This whole area now where you can see this school building, this all would have been the coal yard.
So again, the coal yard is sadly not here. Well, sadly or not sadly. Time moves on.
Yeah.
But from everything that we showed you today, we got a pretty good idea of where this thing was, again, according to the map that we used. We also got a really good idea of, again, how the cars came out, where they went over the spur track that, again, was tied into Mount Clare's entrance tracks, and then was eventually cut, as we saw on the map, that was cut and went back to just being a spur track that came in. So let's go a little more exploring, and we got some history about Mr. Davis we want to talk about.
Alright, so what we see behind me, this wall is modern obviously, but we're right here at the eastern boundary. This would have been the end of the coal yard, right along what's now Carey Street. It was at the time, I believe, Worcester Street. When it was originally built, this bridge wasn't here, so this would have just been a solid embankment that continued along right there.
But that's pretty much, yeah, so we have found what we seem to be, or what seems to be a treasure trove, if you will, for people that take the, again, if you take the Mile 1 Express, you ride by this thing all the time.
Right.
And so the next time you ride by it, you can say, hey, I know what that is. Now, granted, in the summertime and in the fall, yeah, the summer and the fall, the foliage gets so heavy you can't really see any of that stuff. So again, we're shooting in the middle of April right now, so we're just starting to come out of winter. We can see most everything here, but again, once this becomes green, good luck, you can't find anything. So again, you take the Mile 1 Express, look to the south side of the tracks, and you'll see this.
Yeah, so we're kind of back where we started here. It's got the scales and everything behind us that we showed you at the beginning of the video. And yeah, so we just kind of want to talk about Henry Davis a little bit more. Henry Davis was, we talked about kind of his early life. He worked on the railroad. He worked at the B&O. He was very important during the Civil War. Yep. For kind of keeping things. He was a big Union supporter.
Yep.
Something
fun to point out, and we talked about this on the drive-in, was he was all the fun of a robber baron, but at half the price.
Yes.
So he was a bit of a robber baron in the coal sense, but he could not hold a candle, if you will, to people like Rockefeller, Vanderbilt. He was not in the same ballpark. He was a what was the term we used this morning?
Regional robber baron.
He was a regional robber baron, right? He was not a global guy. He was very much in the tri-state, West Virginia. Well, it would have been Virginia at the time, but then West Virginia, Maryland, this kind of area.
Yeah.
So and he went on to be a senator.
Yeah.
He ran for Senate successfully, but he had a failed, he ran with, I don't remember the name, but he ran as a vice president.
In 1904.
1904,
yeah.
Failed. And eventually he just kind of lived out his time in his mansion, which you can still visit.
It's called Graceland. It's in West Virginia. I don't remember what town.
I don't recall off the top of my head, but that's what we have smartphones for. Yeah. So again, you can still check this stuff out. His mansion's still intact. Again, if you come to the B&O Railroad Museum, you can still see the remnants behind us as you go by. And on top of that, stay tuned for some really fun videos I got planned. James and I will be doing some more exploring here, and we're gonna see some neat stuff. Y'all take care. This is Trevor and James for History on the Move.